So today's topic is a new one. I don't think I've taught this one, at least not in a really long time. We're gonna look at how we can use meditation to kind of troubleshoot our mind, right? When certain situations are happening, to help us analyze them and figure out, well, what's the response that I want to have here, right? So that's what we'll focus on for our topic. Thank you guys. Thanks. It feels good to be back. Appreciate it. Okay. So if you're new, please do ask questions. You can see some people commenting in the chat feature. If you have a question, I'm talking about something that doesn't make sense, or maybe I didn't make it clear, feel free to chat. You don't have to wait for me to stop talking. Sometimes I don't. You can just put any question you have in the chat, and I'll stop what I'm doing and answer it. If you don't feel comfortable doing that, or class ends, you're like, now I remember my question, I'll give you my email, and you can email me at any time. Any questions that you have as you're meditating on your own. Sound good? Okay. Sorry if I'm still sounding a little stuffed up. I'll do my best not to sound too nasally. Okay, so meditation, what is it? That's a great first question. So when we think about meditation, immediately our mind goes towards relaxation, or we have this image of like kind of sitting cross-legged, like this, something like that. But relaxation is really kind of key there. Hey, Pam. And for good reason. Meditation is great at producing these feelings of relaxation, right? But how does meditation relax you is something that I think, at least in my experience, and I've been doing this a long time, it's not always clear what's going on, right? I remember when I first started meditating a long time ago, I was like, oh, this feels cool, but I don't know what's going on. It feels nice. Hey, Beverly. So we're going to talk a little bit about what's going on, because I think it's really important to understand. So meditation is really a technique of training your mind in familiarity, to become familiar with something. So throughout your life, you become familiar with many things, right? Think about, I use the example of tying your shoe a lot, right? Think about tying your shoe. Very easy for you right now. You could do it with your eyes closed. You're having like a really, in-depth conversation while tying your shoe, right? Now, when you were a kid, that was one of the most complicated things you've ever been tasked with doing, is tying your shoe. And between then, being a kid and having your shoe tying experience take a lot of effort, and now being an adult and having your shoe tying experience take little to no effort, what happened? Right? Familiarity. Your mind, your body, everything involved in the mechanics of tying your shoe became second nature to you because you're so familiar with it. And a byproduct of familiarity is that thing, the activity, that emotion, whatever, it starts to come more naturally, right? For better or for worse. So if you think about something like anger, is it easy or hard to get angry? It's pretty easy. We're having a great day. Somebody says something to us. Boom, we're angry. We don't really have to stop and try to get angry, because our mind has had a lot of experience getting annoyed, right? And I use the word anger, and we'll talk a little about this today, but things like anxiety, getting annoyed, frustrated, these are all forms of anger, right? And it seems to kind of just happen really fast. But something like patience, right? See? Okay, Nina, great, right? So we might not identify with the word anger, but anxiety, that's a big one for me too, right? We'll talk a little bit about that, how it's linked to anger. But yeah, it starts to go real natural. Something like being patient in, situations that might annoy us, it takes effort, right? We have to try. This is not because we are incapable of being patient or we're kind of this inherently angry person. No, it's just that, over the course of the however many years you've been on this earth, your mind has had a lot of practice getting annoyed. It's probably had more practice getting annoyed than having to be patient. And so when a situation comes up, your mind is very familiar with getting annoyed. And so it happens very quickly, right? So meditation is all about beginning to choose what you want your mind to be familiar with, right? Just kind of going through the course of our life, our mind becomes familiar with some things more than others. And this is our opportunity to start to craft our mind to dictate. What do you want to be familiar with? Do you want to be more familiar with being patient than you are being angry? Sounds good. I would hope for a resounding yes. So in terms of relaxation, right? Meditation isn't relaxing you. Meditation is teaching you to become familiar with your relaxed self. There is a version of you that is very relaxed and calm and cool, collected, thinking objectively about problems. It's in there. You know it's in there. You've seen it. Meditation's job is to teach you to become so intimately familiar with that version of yourself that it starts to pop up more often. That's our goal. Right? Because right now we got to try to get it to pop up. All right? Cool? So the way that we're going to start going about doing this, learning how to use meditation to do all these wonderful things, is starting with what I will refer to as pacifying our mind. This can be a more common terminology would be breathing meditation. We're going to do breathing meditation together. And the goal of this meditation is to focus so exclusively on one thing, in this case our breath, that all of the other things that our mind normally is thinking about, worried about, all those thoughts bouncing around, in our head. Oh, I got a thing I got to do for work tomorrow. Oh, I don't know if I'm going to be able to, go on this vacation that I need to go. All those thoughts, they're going to start to fade a little bit into the background. Very similar to if you've ever been in the zone. Very cliche phrase, but it's a pretty good comparison. You're working on something at work. What happens? You lose track of time. All the noises in your house or office, it's like they're gone, right? They haven't left, but it's as if they've faded away a little bit. So we're going to start to learn how to do this intentionally with breathing meditation. And the goal here is to relax a little bit, because when our mind is nice and relaxed, when we have accessed our relaxed self, all the other kind of things that we are thinking about, problems we're navigating through, it seems to just go a little easier. So this is a great starting point for us. Sound good? Cool. So we're going to do a breathing meditation now together. I'm going to guide it, and it's not going to be very long. Okay. Common misconception about meditation: you do not need to meditate for 6 hours or whatever the heck you think you have to do. Brenda, I miss you too. Thanks for being here. We're going to do about 5-minute breathing meditation. And instructionally, pretty straightforward. You're going to choose to focus on your breath. That's step one. You can say to yourself, I'm going to focus exclusively, single-pointedly on my breath. And then whenever you notice you're not doing that, right? Maybe you're thinking about something you have to do later, something that happened earlier. We're going to be like, no, you know what? Not right now, to those thoughts. And then we bring our attention back to breathing. That's it. That's the process. We choose to focus on our breath. Notice when our mind drifts, bring our attention back to breathing. That's it. We're training our mind to focus on what we want to focus on. And as a result, we become really familiar with that thing. We're going to become really familiar with our breath right now, essentially. Cool? Okay. So, wherever you're sitting is fine, as long as you're comfortable. If you're in a chair like me, cool. Feel like laying down, had a long day, go for it. Maybe you like sitting on a cushion on the floor, that's fine too. It like literally, there's no one way to sit. just be comfortable. Because if you're not comfortable, then you're going to worry about that and not focus on your breath. So sit in your favorite chair or cushion or whatever, and you can go ahead and close your eyes. And I'm going to guide us through about a 5-minute breathing meditation. Whenever we start a meditation, the first thing we always do is we take a moment and check in with ourselves. Ask yourself, how am I feeling right now? Maybe you're happy. Maybe you're sad. Maybe you're tired. Maybe you're energetic. Whatever it is, it does not matter. We're not doing anything about it. We're just noticing. We're practicing something called mindfulness. Mindfulness is an active awareness of your own thoughts moment to moment for the purpose of being able to respond skillfully to those thoughts. So just take a moment and check in. And having done that, you can now turn your full attention to your breath. Breathing in, breathing out, gently, naturally. You do not need to take big, deep breaths or forcefully exhale. Just breathe as you normally would, however that is, in and out. And allow yourself to relax a little bit. Single-pointedly focused on each moment of each breath. Following the air as it enters your nose, and then following that air as it exits. Single-pointedly focused on the entire journey of each and every breath, in and out, gently, naturally. At some point, you may notice your attention drifting. Maybe you're thinking about something that happened earlier today. Or maybe you're thinking about something that you have to do later, after this class ends. Whenever you notice yourself thinking about something like that, we can just very gently say, not right now, to those thoughts. We will get to them later. And then intentionally guide your focus back to breathing in and out, gently, naturally. Fully present with each breath, just you sitting here, breathing. That's it. In and out. As you begin to relax a little bit more, keep bringing your attention back to your breath whenever you catch it drifting. This process of choosing to focus single-pointedly on your breath, noticing when your attention drifts, and being able to bring your attention back to your breath That is meditation. You are meditating right now. You are a meditator. You are training your mind to focus on what you want to focus on. And right now, the only thing you want to focus on is breathing in and out, gently, naturally. Okay, and when you're ready, you can open your eyes. Hello. So that was a pretty straightforward, traditional breathing meditation. And that's pretty simple. I mean, instructionally, it's simple, but our mind might be all over the place, which is fine. Okay. Like, I think sometimes when we start meditating, there's this expectation. We have very high expectations for ourselves. Nancy, thank you for subscribing. That means a lot to me. Thank you so much. We have this expectation that I'm going to be able to focus on my breath and not get distracted at all. Of course I can do that, right? But that's not really the goal, right? The goal of meditation isn't to never get distracted. The goal of meditation is to notice when you're distracted. It's a subtle but key difference. Notice when you're distracted and being able to pull your attention back to the thing you want to focus on. Nina, sometimes, and look, like I said, I've been meditating a really long time, and sometimes it's really hard. It is a kind of lifelong practice, and it will get easier, but there's going to be days where your mind is just busy, period. And the important thing here is that you sitting down and doing what we just did is meditation. It doesn't matter if it's a good one or a bad one. Like, you're practicing. That's it. Cool? Okay, great. So if you have any other questions on breathing meditation or just meditation in general, you feel free to ask me. But I'm going to move on to our topic, and I'm kind of excited about this. Sherry, you like that distinction? Yeah. So that is a very important takeaway, right? We're not, unless you're some like meditation master, I don't know how you would never get distracted. Like, our mind thinks. That means it's working, right? So our goal is to just notice. We're noticing. Thanks, Nancy. I appreciate that a lot. Okay, I'm pretty excited about our topic for today. Because I think this is a very I got a little analogy I'm going to do. I'm excited about it. And I think this is a good kind of summation of what we can do with meditation, right? So just before, we kind of were looking at meditation as a relaxation tool, but there's a lot more we can do with it. And essentially, we can start to use all of the things that we learn here each week together, and all of the things you learn on your own as you're doing meditation, to kind of build out what I'll call our like mental tool belt. All right, Kara. Oh, I'm glad you're here. I hope you're enjoying yourself. Our mental tool belt, right? And then, I don't know if my analogy is going to be terrible. But all the things that we're learning are like these tools, and we're going to start to become acclimated about when to use them. But we got to think about it a little bit, right? Cool. So meditation as an investigation tool is like, it's like the great promise of meditation, right? Being able to pacify your mind is really important, because when our mind is very agitated, we can't really think clearly about things, right? If you imagine like a lake, you're looking at a lake, it's very still, you can see the reflection. if there's wind and rain, you can't see the reflection. The reflection's there, but you just can't see it, right? So pacifying our mind is like getting rid of the raindrops, right? But then we want to look at the reflection. We want to use our mind, our clear mind, to think about things, right? To gain some insight into how our mind works, how we might want to handle situations, right? This is the really cool and kind of boundlessly powerful aspect of meditation, right? It's a way of understanding ourselves, understanding our own thoughts, right? So that's what we're going to talk about a little bit today. So I wanted to start by kind of laying out how we currently respond to situations, because I think this is kind of an interesting juxtaposition, right? So currently, most of the time, right? This is at least what I think happens, right? So something happens to me, then I have this instinctual. Oh, great question. Okay, I'm going to interrupt myself because this is a great question. Do you suggest exhaling through your nose or your mouth? Great question. Doesn't matter. Whatever's natural for you, right? So most times it'll be taught breathing in and out through your nose. It literally doesn't matter. If you normally breathe in and out through your nose, do that. If you normally breathe in through your nose and out through your mouth, do that. Why? Because if you try to change that, well, now you're going to be like, oh, wait, I get it. I'm not breathing right. We don't care about that. We just want to focus on our breath, not how the mechanics of breathing necessarily. Hopefully that makes sense. Great question. All right. So currently our response cadence, something happens and then there is a mental thought about it, right? It's very quick. We have like an instinctive mental response, like a thought about this. And then we respond physically or whatnot, right? And then later on, sometimes much later on, we analyze this physical response and we say, was that the right thing to do? Right? That's kind of a pretty traditional cadence for us in terms of responding to situations as they arise. So what we're going to start to do with meditation, with mindfulness, is change this to, Kara, I love that. I was too concerned about breathing in through the nose and, see, totally, exactly. It doesn't matter because we want to focus. If you're doing that, then now you're focusing on two things, right? You're focusing on, I got to breathe this way, but also I'm focusing on what they're teaching me in yoga class, right? We want to focus on one thing. Cool. So we want to change that cadence a little bit, right? Slightly to this. Something happens. We have an instinctual mental response and we analyze that thought. And then we have our physical response, right? Now, look, I get it. It's not going to always be possible to let me take a moment and analyze my own thoughts, but we're going to start to build a good habit doing this. That way we get more familiar doing it. There's that word, and it starts to come more naturally to us, right? So there's a section in there of analysis of our thought, right? And the way that we're going to do this is with my tool belt analogy. Okay, so let's say you're going to fix something in your house. I'm a fairly new homeowner, and so this is my life now. Let's say you're going to fix something in your house, right? There's kind of three things that you need. You need a tool belt. I mean, you don't really need a tool belt, but it's nice. You have a tool belt, right? So that anywhere you go, you can fix things. Sometimes you got to go on the roof. Sometimes you got to go in the basement. You got your tool belt. Cool, but you need tools, right? You just got a tool belt. You're not going to be fixing too many things. So you got to have a tool belt. You got to have the tools. And then you got to know how to use those tools, right? You need kind of an instruction manual. These are three really key components of resolving something. In this case, we're talking about like a I don't know, home renovation thing. But the same is true with mental states, right? And in terms of mental troubleshooting our mind, the tool belt is your mind, right? Your mind is a thing that other things go in, right? Ideas, concepts, preconceived notion, like all of these learnings, like it's all going into this tool belt, right? And you're carrying it around with you all day, right? Sometimes we leave it elsewhere, leave our mind elsewhere, right? Maybe we're walking down the street and our mind is not walking down the street, it's somewhere else. But essentially our mind is like this tool belt, right? And we're taking it with us. All of the things we're learning here together, different meditations, it's heavy. It is heavy. Indeed. All the things that we are learning here together, these are our tools, right? These are any type of learning, right? Not just meditation, but any type of learning is like a tool that we're then putting into our tool belt, right? We have this with us now. We've learned. A good example is, should I breathe through my nose or my mouth, right? Now we know. Doesn't matter. Do what's natural to you. That's a tool in our tool belt, right? So all the things that we are doing here together, I'm helping you add tools to your tool belt, right? But we got to know when to use them. This is a huge component of meditation. We can do a gratitude meditation. We can do a mountain meditation, which I think we're going to do today, which is quite nice. Breathing meditation, like these are all great tools. But when do I use them? How do I use these things to benefit, to troubleshoot things that are going on in my life, right? So this is kind of like the instruction manual aspect. When do I use a hammer? It's important to know. And sometimes you use the same tool for different things, right? But there is a level of knowledge about how to use these things. And the real kind of key towards knowing when to use these is mindfulness. We talked about that a little bit in our meditation, defined it as an awareness of your thoughts moment to moment. That way you can respond skillfully to those thoughts, right? So think about the cadence that we were talking about. Something happens and we have a thought, right? Now, if we have this thought and we just start hammering at things, right? Without thinking about it, well, it might not be the greatest thing. We've got holes in our ceiling and whatnot, right? So we need to kind of analyze, okay, well, here is what I'm going to do about this. I've analyzed the situation and here's what I need to do, right? Cool. So mindfulness is a key component of this, right? And noticing what your mind is up to is kind of the first step. If we can't notice what our mind is up to, we can't do anything about it, right? Kind of tangential to that is being able to look at a mental state, a situation, and analyze what I'll call the opposing forces of this situation. Every mental state has a counterpoint. We talked a little bit about this earlier. Anger, right? The counter to anger, the opposing force is patience, right? And so our mind is kind of like arm wrestling. I'm trying to arm wrestle myself. It's hard. Our mind is kind of like arm wrestling constantly, right? It's like anger's like, ugh, and then we're like, no, patience, right? And so we want to be able to identify, hey, oh no, right? Anger and patience are arm wrestling, and we want to give patience a little bit of an advantage. We're going to push their arm a little bit, right? So I wanted to talk about some of these opposing forces because even just the knowledge of thinking about, anger and patience are kind of intimately linked is really powerful because you can start to notice these things out in the wild, out in the world. And then you can be like, okay, so if I'm angry right now and patience is the opposing force, that's good. I want to do that. What meditations have I done with Keith that are geared towards patience, right? So now we know when to use these tools, right? So anger and patience. This is a big one because as we talked a little bit about earlier with Nina, anger falls into a lot of different categories. So I will define anger as when we think things should be other than they are right now, right? So sometimes that manifests as frustration. Sometimes it manifests as rage. Sometimes it manifests as anxiety, right? Nina, very good. Exactly. So think about anxiety, right? What are we really saying, when we're panicking from anxiety? Oh, why won't this go away? Why do I have to feel this way? I just wish I was back to normal. Like all these things, right? It is a wish. We're basically angry with ourselves, right? It's a wish to have things be different than they are. We're wishing them away, right? And so anxiety is a form of anger, like self-anger. So anger pops up a lot. That's the bad news. The good news is it's actually pretty easy to identify. We know when we're getting angry. We know when we're anxious. Like we can feel it. There's a very physical sensation, right? And so this is a good one to start practicing identifying because it jumps out at you. So the opposite of anger is patience, but a specific kind of patience, right? What I'll call patient acceptance. It's really acceptance. Oh, hey, what's up, dude? I haven't seen you in a bit. So patience isn't like, man, I hate this situation. I just gotta grit my teeth and deal with it. No, that's like just gritting your teeth. That's just like being annoyed, So patience is like a patient acceptance. It's an acknowledgement that this thing is happening right now. I may not like it that much, but it is happening right now, right? We're not wishing things away, right? It's a very interesting kind of juxtaposition of patience, but it's an important one. And we're going to do a meditation on this today with the mountain meditation. So I'm not going to focus too much on that. But anger and patience are intimately linked. They are opposing forces. What are some other ones? What about jealousy, right? We're jealous about something. That should have happened to me. That's what we think, right? With jealousy. It's like, how come that happened to them and not me? I work harder than them. I should have got that promotion, right? The opposing force of jealousy is kind of like compassion, rejoicing in others' good fortune, right? That person might really have needed this promotion, right? Maybe this completely changes their outlook on themselves and changes their life. Like we can be happy for them, right? So these, again, they're opposing forces. So maybe we're dealing with some jealous thoughts and we don't know what to do about them. Well, now we're like, okay, the opposing force is rejoicing in other people's good fortune. Let me think about a meditation that we did to do that. Maybe the gratitude meditation. That's a good one, right? Happiness and sadness, great one. So happiness and sadness is a very interesting and deep relationship, because sometimes we're looking for happiness in not the right spot. But essentially what happiness equates to in terms of like this opposing force, happiness, or I guess happiness and sadness, will be a subset of what I'll call attachment, right? So attachment is when we think we need this thing or person or situation in order to be happy. And if we don't have that, we're sad, right? In reality, our happiness is not tied to one thing, a person, or an object, or something like that. But we can develop such a strong attachment to it that if that thing is gone, then we're sad, right? If that thing is no longer there, then we're sad, right? Sometimes, like, maybe we get a new job. We've been really trying to get this new job, and we get it. Boom, we're happy, right? Are we happy for the rest of our lives? Might be happy for a while, but then something else comes up, right? It's kind of like sometimes we have to distinguish between temporary happiness and like a permanent happiness, right? This is a very deep topic, and I actually wasn't going to talk about it because it's like its own lesson. Maybe I'll talk about that next time. attachment and impermanence are opposing forces, right? So attachment is, I need this thing in order to be happy. Like, I need this situation in order to be happy. Impermanence is this is how things are right now. It's how it seems, but it's not always going to be this way. It's an acknowledgement of change, an acknowledgement and acceptance of change, right? So it's a very interesting distinction, but that is how I would define that relationship: attachment, impermanence. Cool. Great question. What about procrastination? Oh boy, this is one for me. I'm speaking to myself. Procrastination. We talked a lot about this. We have a bunch of classes where we talk about being motivated, having to deal with procrastination, feeling discouraged, right? The opposing force of that is effort, right? Procrastination is a lack of desire to do this thing, right? I know this thing's important, but I'll do it later, right? Whereas effort is like, hey, I don't know, later might be worse, like Carol said. Maybe the situation right now is the best opportunity for me to do this. I want to put in some effort to do this, right? So those are opposing forces. And we've done a bunch of meditations on effort, on procrastination. So you can use that when you catch yourself procrastinating, being, oh, I got to use my effort tool, the effort tool. So, trademark. Buy now, the effort tool. Okay. And then the last one that I want to talk about today is sort of like the root of all of these. So we think about a tree. We got all these little branches. We got the anger branch and the patience branch. We got the procrastination branch. I don't know why I'm wiggling my fingers. And the effort branch. And then all those branches come down into a trunk. And at that trunk is the opposing forces, ignorance and wisdom. And I use the word ignorance because that's how I was taught. But sometimes I hesitate to use it because I think the way that it's defined in like meditation world is sometimes different than the way that we think about it in normal world. So I'm going to define wisdom for you, and then we can extrapolate what ignorance is. Wisdom is knowing the way things actually are versus the way that they appear to be. I'll say it again. Wisdom is knowing the way things are versus the way that they appear to be. All right, interesting definition. So if you think about anxiety, right? Good one. When we're in the throes of anxiety, our worldview is very narrow. It seems like things will always be this way, right? That's the way things appear. This thing that's happening is catastrophic. It will never go away, right? That's how things appear. Is that how things are? If we think about it, right? Anxiety is kind of like a passing storm. Sometimes it does hover for a bit, but it does go away eventually. We're not always 24 hours a day anxious, right? And so it won't always be like that. We're not fixed beings. I love that, Nina. I love that. We're not fixed beings. We are flexible. Our mind is flexible. This is wisdom. This is deep wisdom, is the ability to look at a situation and determine, is the way this situation appears the way it actually is? Right? So something like anger. Maybe somebody cuts us off when we're driving. Right? We're like, oh, this a-hole. He's got no respect for anyone else but himself. Right? I'd probably thought that, So that's the way things appear to us, right? Because we're getting angry, And but is that the way things are? Do they have no respect for anyone else but themselves? I mean, I've definitely cut somebody off, by accident, or, my mind's just elsewhere. Like, we've all been there, and so it's not as kind of cut and dry as, oh, this person is, an a-hole or whatever. And so analyzing this with a level of wisdom can sometimes get us to lean towards patience, right? We can use wisdom to direct ourselves to the correct, the more desirable response versus anger and patience, or versus jealousy and rejoicing in others' good fortune, or procrastination and effort, right? Procrastination is another good one. Procrastination is, I know this thing is important, but now is not the right time. That's the way things appear. Is that the way things are? Is now actually not the right time? If we analyze this with wisdom, with objectivity, we can kind of determine, well, heck, we don't know. I don't know how long I'm going to be around or be physically able to do this thing that I wanted to do. Maybe now is the right time, right? So these are analyzing things with what I'll call wisdom. Now, knowing that definition, we can look at the opposite, ignorance, as a lack of investigation, right? Wisdom is investigating something, right? Investigating something open-mindedly, clearly, and then making a determination for what we think we should do. Ignorance is believing things just on surface level. Like, I see that's how it is, right? That's kind of how I would define ignorance. So this ignorance and wisdom, really important, very deep topic. And really just for now, I wanted to present it as kind of the trunk that feeds into these other things, right? So we want to start to analyze our mind with wisdom, essentially, right? And that's going to lead us into right directions. Cool? Well, that was a lot of talking. Okay, so I want to do a meditation together. This one's going to be something called a mountain meditation. Maybe you've heard of it. It's not that uncommon. And this meditation is really good for patient acceptance, right? So kind of the opposite of anger. It's good for anxiety. It's good for when we're feeling like really upset with ourselves. This meditation is a practice in kind of, I'll say going with the flow, because it's kind of cliche phrase, but it's a practice of viewing things, problems, as passing storms, as opposed to a cloud that never goes away. Okay? Cool. So this is going to be another tool in your tool belt, if you'd like it. Was that cool? Was that? Does everyone feel pretty good about the opposing force stuff? I know it's a lot of information coming at you, but I think it's an important thing to talk about. Cool. All right, so we're going to do a mountain meditation, and we'll start just by doing a very quick breathing meditation, just like we did before, even just a little shorter. We're just going to kind of get back into the relaxation mode, and then I'm going to guide us through this mountain meditation. This is kind of like a visualization. You just are following along with what I'm saying and enjoying the ride, essentially. All right? Okay. So go ahead and close your eyes. Make sure you're nice and comfortable in your chair or cushion or bed. And let's take a moment and check in. How are you feeling now? We're not comparing it to before. Before is gone. Only now. How are you feeling in this very moment? We're practicing mindfulness. We're practicing an awareness of our thoughts, so we can respond to those thoughts skillfully. And having checked in, you can now once again turn your attention to your breath, breathing in and out in whatever way is most natural to you. Gentle, smooth breathing. We don't have to change anything about how we breathe. We're just breathing. In and out. Gently and naturally. We're following each moment of each breath. See if you can stay with your breath for the entire time as you inhale the air. And then exhale. A moment-to-moment awareness of breathing in and out. At some point, your mind may wander. No big deal. Whenever we catch ourselves thinking about something other than our breath, we can just gently say, not right now to those thoughts. We'll get to them later. And then guide your focus back to breathing. That's it. A very simple and gentle course correction. Back to breathing in and out. We can meditate on anything. It doesn't just have to be our breath. Sometimes it can be really helpful to meditate on an image, an imaginary situation, using your imagination to craft a scenario to analyze, to gain clarity on. Today we're going to do a meditation called the mountain meditation. And this is an example of using meditation to analyze a situation. So just follow along and enjoy. I would like you to bring to mind the most perfect looking mountain you've ever seen. Just imagine it. Transport yourself there. Picture the mountain, its shape, its height. This is your mountain. Just imagine it. And on this mountain, I'd like you to imagine that it's summertime. The sun is beaming. There's not a cloud in the sky. And the mountain is teeming with life. The vegetation is lush and green. Animals are enjoying the mountainside. Little creeks and rivers flowing healthily. Just imagine it. Soon, summer changes to autumn. And with that comes cooler temperatures. The leaves are starting to brown a bit. A lot of the greenery isn't as lush. The water is very cold. The external conditions on the mountain have changed. But inside the mountain, at the mountain's core, everything remains exactly as it was in summer. Autumn turns to winter, and with winter comes extremely harsh conditions on the mountain. Blizzards, deep snows, blistering cold. All of the animals have gone into hibernation. The creeks are frozen over. All of the vegetation has withered. The external conditions of the mountain have changed. But inside, at the mountain's core, nothing has changed. It's exactly as it was in autumn, exactly as it was in summer. Winter turns to spring, the snow thaws, animals return to the mountainside, new vegetation starts to spring up. But with spring sometimes comes thunderstorms, and one day, maybe, a bolt of lightning hits the side of the mountain, scarring it, cracking it. The mountain is showing visible scars from shifting external conditions. But inside, the mountain is completely unharmed, completely unchanged. Even the bolt of lightning could not move the core of the mountain. You are like a mountain. Throughout your life, you will experience changing external conditions. Some will be viewed as positive, others not. But those external conditions can never change your core, can never change you, can never change who you are. At your core, you are a kind, open-minded, loving, patient, relaxed person. That is your core. And all of the things going on around you are external conditions that you can weather. You can weather them, knowing that at your core, you are unchanged. This is patient acceptance. So just for the next couple of moments, I'd like you to just soak in this scene of the mountain. Imagine yourself and the mountain being combined into one. Take on the attributes of an immovable mountain. Okay, when you're ready, you can open your eyes, return to your human form. I love that one. I'm in Colorado, so I love mountains, I guess. But I think it's a really great meditation to remind us of our own resilience. And this is a direct relationship towards patient acceptance. When things are not as we want them to be, right? We can sometimes get very wrapped up in that and forget that, hey, I'm still good in here. I'm still good in here. So this is our reminder. So this is a tool in our tool belt. And hopefully with some of the things we talked about today, maybe now you might be, oh, you know what? I'm feeling a little agitated. Maybe I'm going to do the mountain meditation. Cool? All right. Oh, I'm glad you enjoyed that. Yeah, that's a fun one. That's a good one. I feel like self-conscious about my voice being a little nasally, but hopefully it was okay. Okay, so that's it for today. If you enjoyed yourself, come on back. We do this every week. Now, next week I am going on a work trip, so I will not be here, but I will be back the week after. All right. So come on back and we'll talk about something else. I don't know what we're going to talk about. I don't ever really plan it that far ahead. That's my procrastination self coming out. Wait a minute. Somebody had an idea. Oh, the happiness, sadness thing. Okay. I think I'm going to try to do that. All right. Oh, I'm glad you guys feel good. Awesome. I'm glad you had a good experience. So next week I'm on a work trip. The week after I'll be back. Same day, Wednesday at the same time. So come on back. And thank you to everyone who had subscribed to the YouTube channel during the live stream. If you haven't subscribed, I would love for you to. It helps me out a lot, and it helps you too. You get notifications when I'm going live in case you forget with your busy schedule, and you have access to all my old videos. So maybe you want to go check out something on anxiety. We talked a little bit about that today. Maybe you want to go check that out. That's all up on my YouTube channel. So thank you if you choose to subscribe. And then finally, if you're like, hey, I had a great experience, this seems cool, I would love to see where I could go with this. I do teach one-on-one meditations. That is the kind of core of my business. So if that is interesting or enticing to you, email me and we'll find a time to do it. I do them over Zoom. It is very casual, very laid back. I am a very laid back person. We'll have some fun learning together. I think it's a good environment for learning. And one-on-ones are great because we can focus on things that are very specific to you. Maybe you want to learn about anxiety, right? We can focus on that. Okay. So I'm going to put my email in the chat. It is keith@meditationbreaks.com. Okay. Email me if you're interested in a one-on-one or any questions you have on meditation. I'm just going to catch up a little bit on the chat, but for anyone who needs to get out of here, I know I've kept you a long time. Thank you for being here. I really do appreciate it. Thank you so much. Look, I'm getting a lot of good responses. I'm glad. A lot of first timers, good responses. Amazing. The takeaway here is just like, hey, this is kind of cool. That should be the takeaway. Because when we're like, hey, that's kind of cool, what happens? Natural effort, right? We do things we're interested in. My voice is comforting. That makes me feel good because I feel like I have a frog in my throat. Mary, good exercise to quick ground. I know. I don't know. I've been doing a lot of traveling the last couple months. I'm sorry. Jody, love that one. It brought me back to my youth. I practically grew up on a mountain. Oh, that sounds lovely. Yeah, and look, maybe you don't like mountains. You could do it with lakes, like, you'd change the object here. But I think a mountain's a really good image, right? This kind of immovable force. That's you. Ellen, thank you so much. Really glad to be back. Nancy, it was a bit late. Classes start what time? Eastern Standard. Eastern Standard would be 8:30. East Coast. Yes, that. I'm in Mountain Time, so I have to do math. So it's every Wednesday, 8:30 Eastern. barring some event I have to go to, which is happening next week, unfortunately. All right. Monica, I'm new. Just subscribed. Monica, thank you so much. I really appreciate that. You love the 2 meditations. Thank you. Look, meditation is not some mystical thing. It's just thinking. It's using your mind purposefully. So I'm glad that that is coming through a little bit with how I'm presenting it. I appreciate that. Thank you so much. You guys are amazing. Thank you. I feel very good to be back, and feel very fortunate that you took so much time out of your busy life to be here and allow me to share some of these things with you that I love teaching. So thank you so much. Sherry, I subscribed weeks ago at the first meditation break I attended. Oh, thank you so much. I really do appreciate that. Yeah, it's this is a slow burn, right? Meditation is a slow burn. Sometimes we come in here, we're like, I'm going to meditate and my entire life will be better, right? It takes time. So keep coming back, keep practicing. Note that anytime you sit down and try meditating, whether or not it goes well or not well, it's irrelevant, right? You're training. Cool. Kara, you just happened upon this. Oh, that's great. How do you subscribe? If you go to my YouTube channel, which you're there, you'll see a little subscribe button below my big face. Right down here. You can just hit that. Is my name Keith? Yes, it is. My name is Keith, and great to meet you. Thank you for being here. Again, thank you for taking time out of your day, and I will see you guys in 2 weeks. All right, go be the mountain. That's why we call it a practice. Hey, yeah, that's true. All right, thank you guys. Have a great evening. I'll see you soon.